All aboard! The crazy train is leaving the station. Yes, folks, this week was the Democratic presidential debates. And all I can say is gifts, gimmicks, and giveaways. And that's what we heard both nights. What I'd like to talk about right now is the first night. We had Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the stage, and they were pushing their socialist agenda. Bernie, devout socialist; Elizabeth Warren, a socialist light, and they were touting their plan for their socialized health care plan, and it ultimately will eliminate private health insurance and replace it with their plan, their socialized health care plan. They also, almost everyone on that first night stage were pushing the debt forgiveness, college debt forgiveness, and of course the Green New Deal. But what I'd like to focus on right now is the utter bankrupting of America, and that's exactly what would happen if any of these socialist plans were to put into fruition. And I would say right now the comment of the evening on that first night debate stage, and let me just step back a minute and talk a little bit about not everyone on that Democratic stage, on both nights, do you have totally mad, bat crazy, far left, radical left. Not everyone is that far gone. All of them are the ones that are, I would say, I can't even say moderate, but ones that aren't totally crazed out with this socialist agenda. Brought up a good point, and I want to point to one, a former congressman. His name is that was on stage running for president. Made a point. In fact, he was dealing with Elizabeth Warren. She had espoused her plans with the New Deal, college debt forgiveness, socialized health care plan, and how she was going to pay for it. And that's my question, folks. How, with all these plans, how are you going to pay for it? And I believe the first night, the comment of the evening, and really sets the stage for both nights. And it came from John Delaney. And what he said, dealing with Elizabeth Warren, that her plans to pay for this was fairy tale economics. Let me repeat that, folks. Fairy tale economics. And I couldn't agree more. Most of these plans that these Democrats, these far leftists are proposing, that's right, it's Looney Tunes. It is fairy tale. Now, I would say that John Delaney has some credibility. In fact, Warren went after him, telling the nation how she was going to take some of his money because he has done well. He's a businessman. He's worth in the neighborhood of $65 million. So he knows how to build a business. So speaking to how Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or the majority of these leftists are going to pay for all these pie-in-the-sky socialist programs. It's fairy tale. I'd like to focus a little bit right now in moving to night 2, where we had Cory Booker, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and those three went back and forth. And I would say that Uncle Joe did a little bit better, but Cory Booker had some shots in there, landed some blows, and you would expect if they want to make some progress, they're going to have to go after the front runner, and Joe Biden right now is the front runner. I'd also like to talk about someone else who was on that stage along with on that second night, and it was my junior senator of New York, Kirsten Gillibrand, and she had a lot to say. In fact, she apologized. She apologized for her white privilege, and she wants to meet. Get ready, folks. If you're a white woman who voted for Donald Trump, our president, Kirsten Gillibrand wants to talk with you, because she has to get your mind right and realize that you have white privilege, and that the racism that might be flowing through your veins, she needs to give you some schooling so that you realize and embrace your white privilege. And folks, that gets me to the point. These Democrats, how arrogant are these Democrats that they're going to lecture you and call you all kinds of names and need to have programs that are going to teach you and take away many of your rights. And what I'm saying here is that the arrogance that they know better than you, and we see it throughout. They know how to raise your children better than you. They know how to supply health care for you and not give you choice. You're not smart enough to pick the right health plan. And that's the arrogance that we see in the Democrat Party, is they know better than you, and they can run your life better than you can run your own life. So I want to kind of transition right now from what's been going on on the left, the far left, and there's a symbiotic relationship going on between the Democrat leftists and the lapdog media complex. Yeah, fake news and those fake news networks. And what they have been doing for decades now is telling you what words meet acceptability. So they're taking words that we utilize to describe things, and they're slapping labels on it. Racist, homophobic, xenophobic. And what is that strategy? It's to shut you up so that you can't bring forth and describe what's taking place. And it just happened here this past week, where they went after Donald Trump for talking about Baltimore being a rat-infested city. And what did they try and do? Or what did they insinuate? That Donald Trump was calling the Baltimore people rats. And that is so far from the truth, but that's the way the liberal media, and that's the way that the liberal politicians play the game. You know, they exaggerate and they change the truth to make the truth fit their narrative. But that's not what Donald Trump was saying. And it's about time that somebody called out these politicians that have been running these cities and in charge of these cities decade after decade, and the conditions haven't changed any. So I'm proud of Donald Trump for speaking up and letting Elijah Cummings know that, hey, you're finding fault with the border agents, the Trump administration who's trying to secure the border, and illegal aliens that are coming into this country. He's trying to have a spot for them to be secure. And what is Cummings' accusation? Oh, that the Trump administration doesn't care anything about the illegal aliens. In fact, he's throwing them in cages and in deplorable conditions. That's coming out of Elijah Cummings. And how did Donald Trump, our president, deal with that accusation? He pointed right back at Elijah Cummings and say, look at the deplorable situation that you have going on in Baltimore, and you've been the leader in that city for how many decades, and the problem has got worse. And I give kudos to Donald Trump, because so many decades have gone by where the media and these liberals have come up and set the narrative. And it's about time. The GOP, Republicans, always seem to get timid. They don't want to say anything. When a charge is made against them, they do somersaults to say, no, I'm not a racist, and I'll prove to you. I'll write legislation that shows that I'm not a racist. And what do they end up doing? Writing bad legislation that hurts everyone else, just to appease and to make it look like that they aren't racist. It's time that people stand up, politicians stand up and point right back to them and say, you're not going to own these words. The other situation too, folks, is that when it comes to the way the liberal media plays this game, they'll take not just words but phrases, and what have items, and what have they done with Make America Great Again, those hats, the MAGA hats. They have interview after interview. You hear the insinuation that somehow if you're a white person and you're wearing a Make America Great hat on, that somehow you're racist. And that needs to be nipped in the bud, because these liberal media, the fake news, wants to try and own the narrative. And what do? They slander patriotic Americans. And that needs to be pushed back against. I would also like to talk about what President Trump can do. We have a strong economy, and if I were giving him advice and just had a moment, I'd say, Mr. President, when you ran the first time, one of the most powerful things when you were going to black communities and you spoke to them, powerful statement in talking about, hey, you know, Donald Trump, wanted their vote. What have you got to lose? Powerful. Because what it said was, and as Donald Trump pointed out, that what has voting Democrat all these years and decades done for you? Has the situation got better? In fact, in most cases, anywhere that you find a Democrat-run city or Democrat-run state, chances are there's issues. So I would say that it would, at this point in running for this second term, I would say to Donald Trump, come back to those communities and to thank them for those that did vote for him the first term. And broaden the horizon, set a goal. Let them know that, look, if you want a job, you can get a job. The economy is, blacks, women, Hispanics, record unemployment. Now, expand the vision, set the vision, is what my recommendation would be, Donald Trump. How about Hispanics, women, blacks, and especially where he goes, where he's talking to blacks when he goes out to reach out to them again, to point out, look, if your horizons are broadened now, you have a job, what about business ownership? And how about setting that as a goal for those who want to own their own business, black businesses? And he can stand on his economy. We have a strong economy, and now we're looking to expand businesses, and why not the black community and those that have the drive and the will to, if they want that opportunity and that choice of business ownership, that they can have it, and that Donald Trump can open up some incentives to help them make that dream or that goal a reality. And at this point, talking about Trump setting a goal, setting a vision, it just makes me think back of other great presidents that also set a vision. And I'm thinking right now of John F. Kennedy, where he set visions, going to the moon. And of course, Ronald Reagan, and the strong economy that he left. But not only did Reagan leave a strong economy, but he was a cheerleader. And that's what I so much admire about Ronald Reagan. He would get up and he would say, look, we're going to get government out of the way and let the people see their own full potential. That it's the government that hinders and blocks you from making the great strides that you potentially could. And Reagan was about getting government out of the way so that you could fulfill your full potential and grow a business or take care of your family. He was a cheerleader, and that same type of encouragement, President Trump can also set a vision for this country and build upon the economic success that he has shown over these last 2 years. So, to kind of summarize here, we had the debates, and as I said earlier, gifts, gimmicks, and giveaways. And I'll tell you right now, Republicans, independents, conservatives, libertarians, they're not going to vote for programs that will ultimately negate everything that we've seen over the last 2 years with economic growth and businesses coming back to the country. Manufacturing jobs are sprouting all over the country, and the most common sign under the Obama administration was no jobs available. But right now, you can look around, just take a look around the various neighborhoods, and you see hiring, come in and inquire. Job opening signs are sprouting up and have been sprouting up over the last year. That's good news. That's showing economic growth. And we're not going to go back, and voters are not going to go back to a joblessness and, you know, the statement that we heard from Obama that these manufacturing jobs are gone and they're not going to come back, and we have to get used to the new normal. Right now, folks, we have a new normal. Economic growth, high GDP, and this is on the Trump economic policies that he's put in place. And we need to continue to grow jobs and open up more opportunities for people to take advantage of this economy that's growing. And that's my perspective and comment for this evening.